Genghis Khan. History's most famous conqueror. And probably not someone you'd invite to a dinner party. This wasn't just a guy who won battles, he practically speedran world domination. Entire cities gone, empires crumbled, environmental impact. Believe it or not, he might have even cooled the planet by reducing the population, from building towers out of bones to creating one of the most infamous family trees in history. So grab your history helmet. This is everything wrong with Genghis Khan. Sorry to interrupt, but if Genghis Khan had YouTube, he'd probably force you to subscribe. I'm just politely asking. Thanks. World record holder in conquering. Genghis Khan wasn't just conquering. He was speedrunning world domination like it was Assassin's Creed on nightmare mode. Around 40 million people died. That's 11% of the planet's population in the 1200s. Cities wiped out like bad Tinder matches, and empires crumbled faster than a Thanos snap. His go-to strategy? Surrender, or face the consequences. And if you picked wrong, well, let's just say your family tree got a lot smaller. The Mongol armies didn't just defeat soldiers. They often erased entire ruling families and rival dynasties to make sure no one could fight back. In fact, some historians say Genghis Khan's conquest caused one of the biggest population declines in human history, outside of natural disasters or plagues. And here's the twist. To this day, around 1 in 200 men on Earth are believed to be descended from him. That's right. He either conquered your city or became your ancestor. Talk about leaving a legacy. He helped cool the planet. You know you've made way too much impact on history when your conquests literally changed the climate. After Genghis Khan and his Mongol armies conquered a casual 9 million square miles, making it the largest contiguous empire in human history, something unexpected happened. With so many abandoned cities and farmland left empty, nature took over. Forests grew back, and all that new greenery pulled around 700 million tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. That's basically like hitting a reset button on pollution, but in the most terrifying way possible. Scientists from the Carnegie Institution even have a name for it: the Genghis Khan reforestation effect. Yeah, not exactly the feel-good environmental story you were hoping for. To be clear, Genghis Khan wasn't saving the planet on purpose. His idea of going green was more like removing everyone who might mess it up. Somewhere out there, he's probably watching climate activists and thinking, cute strategy, but I did it faster. Naming controversy: Temujin, aka Mr. Worldwide. Before he was out here steamrolling civilizations, Genghis Khan had a much less intimidating name: Temujin. Sounds more like the guy who fixes your car than the guy who burns your kingdom down. But no worries. Temujin rebranded and gave himself the title Genghis Khan, which means something like universal ruler or great leader of everything ever. Basically the medieval version of calling yourself Mr. Worldwide. And just like Pitbull, the name took off, even if no one knew how to pronounce it. Some say Chinggis, others say Genghis. And a few people out there are probably still calling him Greg. Every country just picked a version and ran with it like it was a bad auto-tuned remix. So yeah, the man built the biggest land empire in history, but somehow still ended up with a name that sounds different in every documentary. He's out here conquering half the planet, and 800 years later, we're all arguing over how to say his name like a confused substitute teacher. World domination? Check. Nailed it. Brand consistency? Nah, not so much. Genghis Khan's secret weapon. Long before germ warfare was in the villain starter pack, Genghis Khan was already dropping plague bombs, literally. During the 1346 siege of Kaffa, modern-day Ukraine, Mongol forces didn't just launch rocks over the city walls. No, they catapulted plague-infected corpses like a medieval horror show. Imagine waking up to a rotting, disease-ridden body crashing through your roof. That's not just gross, that's nightmare fuel for generations. And it worked. The terrified residents fled by ship, carrying the plague into Europe. Many historians believe this move helped trigger the Black Death, which went on to kill 75 to 200 million people. That's next-level evil genius. Khan weaponized bacteria before anyone knew what bacteria even was. Forget chemical warfare. Genghis Khan looked at corpses and thought, portable bioweapon, cool. The Casanova Conqueror. So here's something wild you probably didn't learn in history class. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer cities, countries, and empires. Oh no. He also accidentally became everyone's great-great-great-grandpa. See, Genghis Khan had a harem, and not just a small one. We're talking over 400 wives and concubines. His personal life was less romantic love story, and more like world record for the largest family ever. And it wasn't random either. His harem was organized, divided into 4 sections called ordos, each managed by one of his top wives, known as khatuns. They weren't just sitting around either. This was basically the royal version of HR and scheduling. Genghis Khan would visit different sections every night looking for some quality time. Except instead of checking castles, he was checking bedrooms. Today, scientists estimate that 1 in every 200 men on Earth is directly descended from Genghis Khan. Yep, those scientists probably needed therapy after this discovery. We're talking about 16 million people walking around with a little Mongol DNA thanks to history's most overachieving dad. So yeah, while most rulers left behind castles or statues, Genghis Khan left behind half the human gene pool. He built an empire of slaves. For a guy who loved freedom for himself, Genghis Khan sure wasn't handing it out to anyone else. In fact, the Mongol Empire ran on forced labor like it was the original business model. Every city the Mongols conquered basically came with an all-you-can-capture menu. Women were taken for marriages or servitude, children were enslaved, skilled workers were forced to build for the empire. Oh, and captured soldiers were sent straight to the front lines as, well, highly replaceable cannon meat. In the Mongol world, people were currency. Slaves built the roads, the fortresses, the palaces, while often being treated worse than the horses that pulled the carts. Genghis Khan wasn't just building an empire, he was building a human factory. The labor was unpaid, the working conditions were brutal, and the turnover rate, let's just say, it wasn't great for your long-term survival plan. The Forced Marriage of Borte. Before Genghis Khan became history's most feared conqueror, he was a guy with very complicated relationship problems. At just 16 years old, he married Borte, considered the love of his life, or at least the love of his strategic political alliance. But any hopes of a peaceful love story ended real fast. Soon after their marriage, Borte was kidnapped by the rival Merkit tribe. She was forcibly married off and held captive for months, until Genghis Khan, still just a rising warrior at the time, launched a bloody rescue mission to get her back. When Borte returned, she was pregnant. And to this day, historians still debate whether her eldest son was truly Khan's biological child. This wasn't exactly a fairy tale romance. The Jamuka Betrayal. This is Genghis Khan's only friend, but also his worst enemy. Meet Jamuka, childhood blood brother turned ultimate backstabber. The two grew up together, swore loyalty, and then promptly tried to kill each other over who got to rule. Jamuka won their first battle, and really went full Game of Thrones on the losers. He didn't just execute Genghis's followers, he boiled 70 of them alive like medieval soup. Naturally, Genghis developed some slight trust issues after that. Khan came back swinging, crushed Jamuka later, and offered him a position in his empire. Jamuka refused, and Khan executed him. Honestly, after that betrayal, it's no wonder Genghis Khan only trusted horses because horses don't lie and they don't betray you. And they definitely don't boil your friends alive. Moral of the story? Get a horse. The Skull Pyramid Massacre. In 1221, Genghis Khan's favorite son-in-law was killed during a rebellion in the Persian city of Nishapur, and that was a mistake. A very big mistake. When Khan found out, he didn't just retaliate, he went full apocalyptic. His daughter reportedly demanded that every single person in the city be executed, and of course, good old Genghis agreed. Men, women, children, animals. Everything was wiped out. The estimated death toll was around 100,000, and some say even more. But it didn't end with the killing. The Mongols stacked the skulls of the dead into massive pyramids outside the city as a message to the world. Not just a warning, a monument to Mongol Rage. These weren't isolated incidents either. Cities like Merv and Urgench got the same treatment. Genghis Khan didn't believe in subtlety. He turned mass murder into art direction. No statues, no plaques, just towers of human skulls arranged like bone-themed landscaping. It was psychological warfare at its finest, terrifying survivors before he even showed up. The message was simple: cross the Khan and your city becomes a cautionary tale, decorated in skulls. And to him, well, it was just another day at the office. Destroyed ancient knowledge. You know what's worse than deleting people? Deleting history. And Genghis Khan was basically history's worst librarian. His Mongol hordes didn't just wipe out cities, they obliterated civilizations. Entire libraries, scrolls, religious texts, poetry, philosophy, gone. The ancient city of Baghdad, once the intellectual crown jewel of the Islamic Golden Age, was famously ransacked by Khan's descendants in 1258. But this wasn't new behavior. The Mongols saw books the way modern toddlers see iPads, breakable and optional. Priceless manuscripts were burned to keep warm. Ancient scholars were slaughtered because dead men tell no tales, or inconvenient facts. Imagine how many scientific breakthroughs, lost languages, and cultural treasures disappeared forever because one guy thought empire building was better than preservation. Thanks to Genghis, we didn't just lose people, we lost entire chapters of human civilization forever. Women's rights? Nope! So Genghis Khan wasn't exactly out here promoting feminism. In his empire, being a woman in a conquered city came with terrible options. Option 1, get kidnapped. Option 2, be forced into marriage. Option 3, be taken as a servant or concubine. Yeah, not exactly the fairy tale ending, right? Mongol soldiers were infamous for rounding up women after battles, like some horrifying medieval shopping spree nobody asked for. Consent? Never part of the deal. Freedom? Only if you were lucky enough to be a Mongol noblewoman. For everyone else, women in conquered lands weren't treated like citizens. They were treated like trophies of war. Genghis Khan didn't just conquer cities. He took control over people's lives, bodies, and choices like it was part of the battle plan. Brutal ruler? Absolutely. Feminist icon? Yeah, not even a little. The greatest disappearing act in history. Even in death, Genghis Khan pulled off one last flex, vanishing without a trace. No tomb, no grand funeral. Just a massive historical question mark wrapped in chaos, wrapped in an enigma, if you catch my drift. To this day, his actual cause of death is still a mystery. Some say he fell off his horse during a hunt, which is like Batman slipping on a banana peel. Others claim a captured princess pulled an Uno reverse card and stabbed him, which honestly deserves its own Netflix series. Whatever happened, the man didn't just die. He rage quit history like a final boss who forgot to drop loot. His burial was allegedly carried out by loyal soldiers who made sure no one saw it, by making sure no one lived to tell. Then, after burying him, they supposedly took their own lives. To top it off, 1,000 horses were marched over the site to flatten it like a Mongol steamroller. So, where's the tomb now? Your guess is as good as anyone's. Some believe it's in Ich Korig, the Great Taboo, a forbidden zone in Mongolia so restricted that even Indiana Jones couldn't find it. Locals say disturbing the site could unleash a curse. Whoa, kinda spooky, right? Skeptics say Mongolia's just protecting its most profitable mystery. Either way, nobody's getting in. Not even with a treasure map, drones, or Google Earth. Even centuries later, he's untouchable and still trending harder than your favorite YouTuber. How Genghis Khan broke Russia from the grave. Genghis Khan didn't stop at Asia. No, he looked at the rest of the world and basically said, yeah, I could ruin that too. While he didn't personally ride into Europe with sword in hand, his fingerprints were all over the destruction. His grandsons, the Golden Horde, carried out the family business like true overachievers, and Russia got the worst of it. They stormed into cities like Kiev and turned them into ash. Local rulers were forced to pay tribute, send hostages, and bow to a foreign empire just to keep breathing. All of that because Genghis Khan built a system where fear was the currency. Even after Khan's death, he still made a massive impact. His empire kept spreading, and the trauma kept going. For over 200 years, Russia lived under Mongol control. Not only did it bleed the region dry, but it possibly delayed Russian unification and helped create the hardline political culture we associate with it today. Meanwhile, his armies pushed deep into Eastern Europe, and guess what? He didn't even need to show up. Just the idea of Genghis Khan was terrifying enough to make kingdoms panic. So no, he didn't just reshape Asia. He left a trail of trauma across Europe too, like an end boss who couldn't stop expanding the franchise even from beyond the grave. And there you have it. Genghis Khan, a guy so intense, he conquered continents, rewrote history, and still somehow ended up in your DNA test results. What do you think of Genghis Khan? Let me know down below. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.